Hey, what's up YouTube? Anjanson here, and my opponent is another rank 10 general hybrid, and we are playing on Daisetsuzen Basin. And I think, yeah, you've seen me play a few battles on this map. I used to really dread it because I fought a lot of campers on it, but lately it's been pretty good to me, so I really don't mind this map. If you look at my army composition, I have 2 units of Bow Warrior Monks. I also have 2 units of Yari Ashigaru Spears. I have 3 units of Katana Samurai, a unit of Matchlock Warrior Monks. And normally I'd bring 4 Katana Sans, but I decided to opt one out and bring some Bow Cav to this fight, which I rarely bring. As well, I have 2 units of Great Guard, and back here I've got 2 units of Monk Cav, moving in a screen through that forest. If you look at my opponent's army, he has a Matchlock front. He's got 4 units of Matchlock Ashigaru, and directly behind them in this line he has 3 units of Bow Warrior Monks. Then he also has a Naginata Warrior Monk, and 4 more Naginata Warrior Monks, as well as his general. So, Spear Heavy Infantry, definitely a range heavy army as well. It's a 50-50 split between range and spears. So, kind of a tough battle to bring Cav to, but luckily I actually have a lot of Cav, and to be successful against a mainly spear infantry with Cav, you need to have a lot of them. You need to be constantly moving, trying to create gaps in his army, and finding those gaps and exploiting his openings. So luckily, I did bring a lot of Cav. I've got these 2 units of Great Guard and these 2 units of Warrior Monk Cav. Just moving to this forest. Usually when people play on this map, they'll start their Cav up here and move them through this forest screen. So once my guys get to about midpoint, I feel fairly certain he doesn't have any Cav over here, I'll bring these guys up to the fight. So right now I'm just trying to get my front set up. You see I got a faithful chesty puller down here and stand and fight, and I'm going to go ahead and try to engage him with my Bow Warrior Monks. Now because he has so much range over me, I mean not just the 3 Bow Warrior Monks he has in that middle rank, but all those matchlocks, I need to maximize these guys' potential. That means I'm going to be forced to kite this guy back. If I were to stand here and try to take a charge, his matchlocks would destroy my army in moments. So that is precisely what I do. Luckily he was slow on his initial charge and decided he was going to try to fight me with archers first. So his first mistake was not pushing forward with his matchlocks. His matchlocks would have killed my archers. So I decided to remount my general, and I'm just going to try to kite this guy back and engage his matchlocks with my bows as much as I can. And I'm fairly certain at this point that I'm going to have to sacrifice these bow cav. Bow cav, they're pretty decent, but they aren't all that necessary for this fight since I already have so much cav. So I leave these guys actually over here screened in the trees. They have good arrow protection over here, but I know his matchlocks are going to catch up eventually. And at some point I'm going to decide to throw these guys in melee and try to see if I can get a charge on his matchlocks. You see his bow general over there wasting fire arrows. But for some reason he popped rally on his troops as well. I'm not sure why. It was kind of pointless. But here you can see I go ahead and try to sacrifice these guys, which, it didn't really do much. It might have slowed down his momentum a little bit, but I certainly didn't get any awesome kills out of it. And he's continuing his push forward, so I'm going to have to remount my general and keep kiting him back. And now I'm fairly certain that he doesn't have any cav. I moved through this whole screen down here, and I decided to go ahead and move these monk cav up to the fight. Plus I see how far back he's keeping his general, and I'm hoping he's not paying attention. But you can see right there, his first rally is already starting to wear off. And right now I'm just trying to get these guys back to these trees to screen them from all of his archers. If it was just matchlocks, I wouldn't be too worried. I would keep my archers out and try to take down his matchlocks. But because he has such a strong bow force backing them up, there's no way I can fight him on open ground. And if I were to charge with my swords or my horses, he would shoot them down and cut them to ribbons in moments. So as you can see, I finally get my guys into these trees, and it looks pretty cheap. I would not intentionally try to redline camp or anything like that. It's just this was my best option, and redline camping is mainly to protect your flanks from cav and such, and seeing that he didn't have any cav, I honestly didn't really feel bad about this. I didn't think that, you know, he had a force strong enough to wrap around and flank me, so I don't really think this was an issue. Now if he had a strong heavy presence of cav that he could have exploited my flanks, then yeah, I think that would have been a major infraction on my part and pretty cheap. But since he didn't have it, I went ahead and did it. So you can see I actually I got my monk cav down here, but you know, he's actually maneuvering his spears pretty well at the start. So I decided just to keep them moving. And Naginata warrior monks, they don't have the best, you know, versus cav bonus, but you know, you still don't want to fight ground spears with your mounted cav. So it's fine for quick skirmishes, especially the Great Guard, which can hold up a lot better, but you don't want to prolong melee fight with any spear unit. And I see his matchlocks are exposed over here, so I decided to go ahead and push my Great Guard through and, you know, take out those range capabilities that he has. As you see, I pull this unit of Great Guard back, and right now I'm just keeping these guys back here in the forest, just trying to weaken him as much as I can with my archers. But he leaves all of these archers exposed. And at this point, you know, he should have been looking at taking his spears and flanking my Great Guard, trying to cut them down, but he doesn't. And I managed to get this second unit entangled in melee as well, and get off quite a few hills. So I see him starting to close in on my troops. He's already used one of his war cries, so I decided to go ahead and pull this Great Guard unit back. But then I see another opening right here for his other archers and his general, and I decided to go ahead and take those archers down as well. And then eventually I'll push them down and hit the general too. But my main concern was his archers. Since he has Naginata monk cav, and look at their morale, they all have pretty high morale, and you know, taking out his general is good, but it's not gonna, you know, destroy his morale as much as I like. So I figured my better bet was taking out those archers, and then I go ahead and push them through to hit these matchlocks as well. So I've pretty much destroyed what was left of his range units, and now I'm just dancing my cav around his back lines. And it's at this point he decides to go ahead and try to engage me with his infantry. So you know, I wasn't keeping track of my bows. They actually came way too far out of those forests. But I pulled them back, and you see I've got my spear walls getting ready to get set up, and now my matchlocks are engaging. So as you see, I'm just doing a cav dance back here, basically just trying to keep these 3 units of Naginata warrior monks busy, just keep them on the move so they aren't over here overwhelming my front lines. And I do manage to get my spear wall up to hold up these troops, and I see he still has a lot of exposed archers over here, so I'm going to go ahead and clean those guys up with his Great Guard. You see Chesty Puller down here and stand and fight. For some reason he's facing the wrong direction, like, I don't know. He's got the floating wings too. I thought they fixed that, but I guess not. So you can see he didn't send enough infantry up here, and these guys are getting cut to ribbons. And I decided to go ahead and bring in the rest of my cav and get a rear charge and clear up this line in front of me. That way I can go ahead and send my swords out to engage these spear units. As you see, I don't know why he's just wasting all this time trying to chase my cav around. He should have realized that I'm not going to be idle long enough to let him punish my cavalry. So now I've got my swords moving up just to clean up what's left of his spears. So probably the biggest problem with this fight was just my opponent didn't have any cav. You know, a monk army is still pretty decent. You know, he had plenty of range. He could have decimated me with his matchlocks and his bow warrior monks. But when he saw that I was not going to go in a straight up brawl with him, he should have just kept on pushing. He shouldn't have got distracted by my cav, and he should have had cav screening his movement. But he didn't, and you can see as a result, my cav had free reign in his lines. I was able to move around, exploit his gaps, and do everything else. So that's an important thing to consider, you know, when, you know, building an army composition. But it's pretty much the fight, and I'm gonna go ahead and pop up the results screen. So here are the results for that fight. You can see Hybrid deployed 1,335 units, and I deployed 1,230. I also had 357 losses, but he only had 242 kills, so 115 of those losses were by my own hand. and I killed 115 of his men. So all in all, it was a pretty good fight, and yeah, my opponent's only downfall was that he didn't bring any cav. So I hope you guys enjoyed, and see you next time.